So I've been working in a urban poor community over the last 1.5 to 2 years, and I just like to share a quick sort of example of one of the everyday life situations that happened in this urban poor community. So it was in the middle of COVID, and as we sort of like about 10 o'clock in the night, suddenly there was this huge sort of pandemonium, and everybody started shouting, and my landlady and I, we just rushed out onto the balcony to find there were a lot of others also on their balconies and just watching what was happening. And all the people, so this is like in Colombo North, so it's a high-rise building, 15 stories high, and there was a young man of about 17-18 years old. He had climbed up on top of the water tank, and he was veering back and forth like a swimmer about to take a plunge, and he was ready to end his life. And in the middle of this, there were people shouting at him, there were some who were taking selfies and videoing the situation, there were some who were scolding him, and all sorts of things just were kind of unfolding before our very eyes. And we were on the sort of opposite high-rise building, and we were also just watching this unfold before our eyes. My next door neighbor, a guy called Danushka, he was working in the Sillera Kade in the same high-rise building that we were watching from, and he had heard all this noise, and he ran up to the next sort of high-rise, and his wife and I were watching from opposite, and suddenly we saw this hand just come up and grab this guy and pull him back. It was Danushka's hand, and it was this real sort of almost heroic kind of act in the middle of a lot of shouting and screaming, scolding, and selfies, of course. So the next day when I went and I was just speaking to him, he had come to the Devale just there to worship, and I was asked, just after that, I was asking him, and I praised him and said, you know, what a heroic act you were involved in. And he said he was on the term kalakirila inne, that there was this kind of, that like he never expected that me wage samajeka jeewath wenawa, me wage prajawak tiyenawa, prajawa hondatama binda වැටලා තියෙන්නේ, or that community was entirely broken. So this kind of gave me a small glimpse. This was just one incident, but over the last couple of years, I've really started to try to figure out these ideas of urban community, urban poverty. This was something which had really been in my life. I'm a priest kid or a pastor's kid. So I think from the time I was small, I've grown up with all sorts of different people coming in and out of our houses and gates, and I've been kind of really exposed to different kinds of people with different problems. So I think that really gave me a desire, a passion to start thinking of solutions, to start thinking of how you can really study some of these complexities that were happening. And that was when I joined the university. I started thinking of it academically to see how we can get to the bottom of it. Of course, I have not, I think, but that was just a start for me, and I think the university also exposed me to this wonderful kind of world of theories and how to kind of see some of the structural concerns. I think that's what I've been doing over the last couple of years, but also looking at how people construct home and belonging in urban poor communities. So often we think of the poor as, you know, uneducated or poor, lazy, kuddas, or that kind of idea. Those stereotypes are imposed on certain urban communities, but I was looking to see, and living in that community, I was just amazed at the kind of everyday struggles, the everyday challenges, and the everyday hero and heroines, of course, not in terms of substances, but like the kind of things that were really happening within the everyday. And I think this was something which really transformed my life. And how do I see this in terms of me contributing to the kind of kingdom of God? Well, it's also opened my eyes to see that community is not necessarily monolithic or homogeneous. It's not something that, you know, it's a one kind of thing, but it's full of difference, full of struggle. It's a time where you have continuities, discontinuities, stops and starts. You have people maybe taking selfies, some people going and saving people, and all this kind of thing happening. It's not always that warm, fuzzy kind of feeling of, you know, similar worldviews and ideas. And this was just something that really confronted me. So in terms of how we look at the urban poor and things like that, I think so much more to do. And I think I have been just thinking about how we can start studying some of this, but also how, because I'm in the University of Colombo, how I'm kind of encouraging some of the students to work with some of these issues, to also put them in places where they are not always comfortable. And that's something I've always kind of found difficult, but to go beyond sometimes our comfort zones, maybe to be honest, living in those in that high rise, I think I found it really hard because I was being challenged each day. It was going beyond my comfort zone. So I think, I just wanted to share about that, but also share that maybe not just be uncomfortable, but also how we collaborate, I think is so important. So community, going beyond our comfort zone, and also collaborating with different organizations. And that's something I've been thinking about, that it's not just a kind of research oriented thing, but also looking at how it works out. How do we solve poverty in terms of urban planning? How do we think of solutions for poverty through software, the software that we develop, through the laws that we bring about? So one of the main things that I found was that sometimes the very things we think are developing people's lives are the very things that are causing even more vulnerability. So for example, urban development projects, I found, was almost exacerbating their vulnerabilities. So it's also about how we gain some of these knowledges from the ground, also putting into place things which are really determined by people rather than just projects or policies. Yeah, so that's basically what I want to say. Thank you.